Hello and welcome to another People in Action Arts and Crafts video with Martin. Today we're going to be making Ecosphere jars. This should be a pretty easy craft video for you to follow. All you really need is a jar and the rest of the things you'll be able to find in your back garden or on your walks. The idea behind the Ecosphere is to observe life in motion. So once you've built your Ecosphere, make sure you document everything you find. So the first thing you'll need is rainwater. And the second is duxweed, but this is optional. And number 3, you'll need some ornamental things. Number 4 is some dirt from an old plant pot. Number 5, some sort of plant that you can find in your back garden. I have this large canister in my back garden which collects rainwater. So if you're looking to collect rainwater, maybe you could leave a jar outside and collect it over time. Now going back to duxweed. Duxweed is a tiny aquatic flowering plant that floats in large quantities on still water, often forming an apparently continuous green layer on the surface. So let's get started. So first of all, take your jar and then take some dirt and pop it in there. If you are struggling with the Ecosphere, just stay until the bonus craft round and do that instead. Now we just need to flatten it down a little bit. Unfortunately I couldn't get my fingers in the jar, so I just shook it a little bit until it was evened out. I did purchase these large tweezers online, but really all you need is a stick. So whatever you have available, take that and try and dig the plant into the soil. Unfortunately, I didn't have any aquatic plants and I didn't feel it was safe enough to go digging around for plants in a pond, so I decided to use a plant from the garden just to see what would happen. But if you do have a fish tank and you have some spare plants available, then you could use that. Now it's time for the ornamental side. So in this jar I have a large stick, an empty shell I found on my walks, and finally some slate from the garden. So basically, a jar ecosphere is an enclosed space where living organisms interact with non-living environment. Ecospheres like this one need light for production of oxygen through photosynthesis from plants. So I started adding the slate piece by piece, which I found really tricky, because even though these tweezers are quite long, it's still really fiddly. Eventually I got all of the slate in there, and then I decided to put the stick in. The thing that I didn't realise is, this is a dry stick, so once I add the water, it's naturally going to float. So hopefully, after time, the stick will absorb the water and sink. Then I decided to put my shell in. And the next job is adding the water. So, I didn't want to mess everything up. I decided to take a spoon and bend it slightly and then pour the rainwater on top of the spoon so it wouldn't mess anything up in the jar. Unfortunately, I didn't count on my snail shell floating. Now I decided to add the duxweed. Remember, this is completely optional, you do not need it. I just decided to add it because I had some. Luckily after time my shell did sink. And once I put the lid on, I decided to give it a nice clean with some bacterial wipes. So remember, when you're doing this, wash your hands before and after. Make sure you come back next week to see if any life has formed in my Ecosphere.
Hello my loyal subjects, welcome to Queen Lisa's bonus craft round.
Oh. Hello and welcome to the bonus craft round. Now let's get started. So first of all, you're going to need an A4 sheet of green card. It doesn't have to be green, it can be any colour you like, but I decided to go for a grassy green. Once you've done that, you need to cut out a grass shape. Now take your jar and roll the grass shape up. It kind of looks like a crown. Now you can add it to the jar. If it stays like this, just take a stick or some tweezers and push it outwards. It should pop open.
Now it's time to add some life to your jar. I decided I wanted to put fish in, so I cut out some fish freehand because it was an easy design, and then I added them to the jar. You can do whatever you like, so please be creative. Now all you need to do is take each fish and add a lot of glue to the front of it. Once you've done this, we're going to try and stick it to the inside of the jar. I did find it a little bit difficult as it kept falling off, so I decided to take my tweezers and try again. I added even more glue, and this time I was successful. And that's pretty much it for my jar, but your jar can be a lot more adventurous, so please send in your photos and let's see what you come up with. Now let's take a look at your creations. Make sure you like, comment, and share with your friends.